Michelle?
No, it just says for now only. Okay. Says for now only members of this org can participate. Soon you'll be able to. But I put my information in the chat. I just wanted to double check because I love technology.
Yeah, us too.
But it's okay. It's okay. So.
Well, that was the one thing I didn't think to check, was to make sure that people outside of ACS could actually write on the whiteboard.
It's all right.
So if you want to put in the chat where you're calling in from, that would be fabulous.
Yes, I did. And I thank you. Sorry to take your time. I didn't think that was a recordable question.
Oh, you're fine. We're learning every day.
I love it. I love it.
And what I'll do is I'll try to make a good guess and put on the whiteboard for those of you that can't do it. How about that?
Thank you, Jessica.
I'll get your state right. So, and by the way, my brother lives in Vegas. So every time I hear you talk about Vegas, it makes me a little homesick for my brother. So good job.
We're ready for you. We actually live in Red Rock, and we first started in New York over 20 years ago. So it's glad to be home. This is now our new home. Starting to record. Not gonna talk.
Kristen, looks like your hand's up. You got a question?
No, it was an accident. I can't figure out how to lower it.
Just click it again.
Oh, mother and daughter team there too?
Thanks, guys.
Love it.
This is Adeline. She's been a relay baby since before she was born, and she was actually born about 36 hours after one of my college events one week. Came early, so I relayed her into being. So
she is a beautiful girl. Her. Love it. I love it.
All right, well, we'll give it one more minute because it looks like we've still got some people coming on. But I'll go ahead and read some of our friends in the chat are on from El Paso, Texas, Neosho, Missouri, Midland, Michigan, Perry County, Indiana, Trumbull, Connecticut, Cook County, Texas, West Tennessee, Southern Pennsylvania, Traverse City, Michigan, Oklahoma, and Jackson County, West Virginia, Linden, Cali. So we've got coast to coast covered tonight. Thank you everybody for hopping on tonight, and let's go ahead and get started. So I forgot the one thing that I needed to do, which was switch over to my PowerPoint. Welcome everybody to being the CEO of your event. My name is Kayla, and I am from the American Cancer Society. I live here in Iowa. I've been with ACS for about over 15 years now, and I have been remote staffing relays for 6 seasons in total. I primarily staff campus events now, but I have spent a lot of time working with community volunteers across the country planning their events. So thank you all for hopping on tonight. My volunteer co-lead had something come up and it wasn't going to be able to hop on, so I apologize if you get tired of my voice after a while, but we will try to keep it interesting because we're really hoping that this session will be very conversational for everyone. So first things first, we have a brand new resource that our staff team has been working hard for the last few weeks to get put together for you, and it is an event share guidebook. It is an online interactive guidebook, although if you do want a printed paper copy, we can get you one. It just won't be as pretty as the online website. So the link to get to that guidebook just went active today. It's acsempowered.org/event leadership. And if you love this resource, please give a shout out if one of your staff partners is on here for Amanda D, Jordan, Joy, myself, Kina, and Rebecca for all of their hard work on it. And I did want to give everybody a little bit of a walkthrough. So this is our interactive platform. It's actually really cool how you can click through all of this stuff, but we've got a little bit of introduction, and then we've split it into kind of the ways that you can look at the different sections of how you act as an event chair. So recognizing your commitment, and then the lessons, recruit your partners, leading your ELT, event management, wrapping up the year. We've got a whole section on policies and procedures, which honestly is kind of boring information, but it's good to know stuff for planning your event by yourself. And then we have all kinds of resources to share with everybody too. So when you come to this page, you can either pick whichever lesson you want to dive into, or all you have to do is click launch content at the top. And then it will throw your library over here for where you want to go. But we've got responsibilities for an event chair, generic qualifications, different things to think about. At the bottom of each page is a continue button that will take you through to the next section. Or if you want to skip around, like let's say you want to go down here and look at growth subcommittees, you can skip right to that section. We've got some generic job descriptions in here for helping you plan how to recruit your committee. And then our other sections just kind of walk you through the event year. Jeremy, the guidebook link is in the chat. If you go up a little ways, Jessica put it in there for everybody, but we'll keep posting it so people can find it. This is a interactive work in progress update as we go. So we've gotten it mostly done, but as we need to change things, we will be changing things. So you can check back to this resource often and see what we've added. We already know some other sections we're going to continue building out as we go along. And we'll switch resources out as we find something better or something new is updated. A lot of these sections link to Relay Connect, which is our national relay resource library essentially, but there's also Word documents and PDFs, Excel spreadsheets and stuff that you can download directly from the site to help you with your planning this year. So please dive in to this resource when you have a chance for the event chair guidebook. If you have questions, need clarification on something, because please keep in mind this is a guide. None of this is written in stone, as I just said. We can update it daily if we need to, and your staff partner is always available to have a conversation with you if needed, to explain anything, get you better information, but tailor what you take out of this to your community and make it be what's going to be best for you. So that is our guidebook. And now I am really hoping we can have a conversation about committee recruitment. I know that all of you are in your communities, and just throw it in the chat. Who would love to have more people on their committee? No one wants more people on their committee. All right. This can also be one of the most difficult things about being an event lead. So we have a whole section in the guidebook about committee recruitment and things to keep in mind and things to do. But I mean, we all know Relay is a volunteer-driven event. That's one of the reasons you all are with our UES team, is because you are the face of ACS in your community, since your staff partner can't physically be there with you, and you drive your Relay empowered to make it be the best for your community. So we also know a healthy and growing ELT means a healthy and growing Relay. You can never have too many people helping on your committee, and your committee should be representative of your community. So I have worked with a lot of relays over the years. I can't even keep track anymore, but I know that I have a lot of lovely ladies who work on my committees every year that I would not trade for the world, but I know that my communities are not all women. So it's always good to strive to make your ELT representative of your community, and finding out about your community is one of the ways that you can do that. So I'd love to hear from you all who are on here tonight on where and how you recruit people to your ELT.
So this year for our Relay for Life in Naugatuck Valley, the girl that used to run it is running it again. She ran it for 10 years, then stepped down for a little bit because her dad got diagnosed with cancer and unfortunately passed, and she had to deal with all the grief and everything. And you know, this year, so I took over for a couple of years, and last year with the pandemic, it just kicked my ass. So she took back over the event. We're so excited and everything. But what she also does too, she's a planner. Kristen is her name. And she messaged, I think, all of her friends and also past committee members that, you know, life happened and they moved on and did something else. And we got 30 like members total, where like the previous year we only had like 10. And granted, there's some still doing like the same core things, but we have more people now. And it was just really like amazing to get that. We're also a bigger event, so that's part of it too. But, you know, it was nice to have that new people come in.
Tripling the size of your committee is something to pat yourself on the back about. That is awesome, actually. And it's never a bad thing to go back to people who have stepped away from relay for a while. Those are some people who loved relay at one point, and yeah, life happens. But that doesn't mean that they don't ever want to come back to relay.
Exactly.
What else has been successful for people? Or what has totally not worked for you that you could save some of us some time by sharing? Okay, Mary and Michelle in the chat say we do the ask, aka associates, community folks, the college students at UNLV and high school, as well as leaders who can bring corporate sponsorships or volunteers for day of event. They ask everybody. They've recruited for the last 4 years for survivors or team captains. We have found you can ask any of us on staff or anyone who's tried to recruit for anything, that asking is the best thing that you can do. The worst thing you're going to hear is no. And it never hurts to ask. It's not fair to make a decision for somebody.
Oh my gosh.
Did somebody want to jump in with a recruitment idea?
Nothing.
Okay.
Somebody is talking. It's a online meeting. No, it's okay. It's about relay. And I've
Thank you. I was just trying to figure out how to do that. Please come off mute if you want to chat. If you're doing other stuff in the background, if you can please remember to mute yourself so we can keep on track, that would be fabulous. Thanks, everybody. Okay, so other recruitment ideas. What do you all have?
Okay, this is Donna Hood. I think I'm unmuted.
Yeah, you're good, Donna. I can hear you.
Okay. Well, what I kind of struggle with, I get people that'll say, I'll help you do something, but I don't want to be in charge. And I want their help. And I mean, I've done relay for years. I've been a chairperson, and then I was just on the committee. Then I was kind of back to a chair. Myself and Dana Eads kind of ramrod the Neo show relay. But people, I just wish I had a better reply to come back to them, because I don't want to make them mad. But it's like, okay, Donna, you plan and everything, and then you tell me what to do.
I feel like we hear that a lot. So let me throw this out to everyone. Has anyone ever used the episodic volunteer job projects with their relay?
The what?
Episodic volunteers.
Explain, please.
Oh, well, Janice, you said that you have used them. Would you mind coming off mute and kind of explaining how that works? And if that's a no, that's okay. Okay, so episodic volunteers. Oh, maybe? Janice just popped up on my video.
How about now?
There we go. Now we can hear you.
Yay!
All right, how was your experience with episodic volunteers?
You know, it was really good. In fact, I need one for how to run my computer. But it's for those it's for those jobs that it's a person that just needs one task, and it's file these survivor names in alphabetical order and get them ready for registration. Go. It's just for one episode or one project specifically. I love those because that's a great way to recruit someone.
Yes, and In the ELT guidebook, we have this whole document of episodic volunteer job descriptions. These are your people, Donna, who don't want to be in charge of one big thing like the survivors, but they still want to help in some way. So this list in the guidebook actually has tons of different projects with like 5 or 6 things as part of that project you could task somebody to do that takes something off of your plate or off of a committee member's plate, but it still gets done and that person can feel good about volunteering for ACS.
Okay.
And that is under the leading your ELT being the leader section in the guidebook. But this document I think is like 12 pages long. So, I mean, it's got a lot of stuff in there to help you think of ways. And that is typically a good response when somebody's like, I don't want to be in charge of anything that scares me, but I want to help.
Okay.
Thank you for sharing that, Janice. What else are people hearing are recruitment strategies that you've found? Can we get one more idea to share before we bounce on to our next topic?
Kayla, one thing that I think is helpful is, even if you're in a small community or a large community, you're going to have some large businesses. And when you have a large business, you're going to have a lot of employees. So if you can get somebody to go out into the community and frequent that business and get to know those people, you're going to have more of a circle of influence there when you get to know a few people, because they're going to know more people that work at other places. And that's how you can try to build your ELT, by getting people to join that way. So go to those large businesses, those large churches, and you'll be able to build more people to join your relay as teams, and have team captains to join that way, and also to try to build your ELT or your committee that way, because the more people you can reach out to and they can reach out to their circle of influence, you'll be able to get more people, hopefully, that way.
Absolutely.
Awesome. I love that, Holly. Michelle and Mary, I see your hand up.
Yes, I was trying to give you a response, but I was muted. Technology.
It happens.
Yes, it's very kind of hopping off of what the young lady just mentioned. We did that for specifically Caesars. So we had to go into all of their EDRs, which are their employee dining rooms. And we did basically like a meet and greet. Hi, we were building their Caesars team. But at the same time, outside of selling luminarias, telling them what the theme is for Relay, we were telling them what Relay does. Maybe some mission statements. But, if you see 50 people, you may get 1 or 2 that want to help more than just give $1. What I was trying to say originally was in New York versus Vegas. In New York, we always had to feed them. So having like just a meetup or a social gathering, maybe not, at churches, or we've done it in elementary daycare centers. People are coming, they can join a team, maybe they just want to help. Maybe they're just a caregiver and looking for support. We take it all, because somewhere along the line, that person may not help you on an event leadership team, but they'll be willing to help in some capacity. And as your time in your calendar slips away from you towards your event, you need people to make calls. So you can always reach out in your people building. So those are things that I find helpful here in Vegas, as I mentioned, Caesars, but like you said, churches, universities, and always remember corporations right now have to do give back. So employees sometimes give credit. I'll leave you with this thought. Every area has buildings. So there's always a carpenters union or a regional carpenters union. Each carpenters union, they consider it volunteering, but they actually get comp credit payment for that volunteering. So that's something of a support for you, because, and outside of them being men, they're builders. The majority are men. And I'm not saying all, there's some wonderful women there, but they build, and they can help you on event day if you needed to, put up a tent or what have you. So you gain a lot of support reaching out in that way. Thank you.
I love that. And it is always nice to look in your community to see what kind of mandatory community service some companies will do. Two good places to check that I know are nationwide. Walmart, I'm sure a lot of us have heard of their Volunteerism Always Pays program. Walmart's a great place to find volunteers, even if it's only a couple of people who want to work on one project. But Kohl's department store actually has a very similar program where if associates come and volunteer at your event, volunteer for your event to do something, Kohl's will also make a donation to your relay for the hours that their associates work. And then I know it's going to change area to area, but I know like Garmin has a day of giving that they let employees go and volunteer for the day while they're technically on the clock. So look at some of the companies within your areas and see which ones do that kind of thing. You could find some great volunteers that way.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for sharing recruiting. So now that we've all recruited these fabulous volunteers to help on our ELT, let's lead them. Put it in the chat. How many people feel like you do everything for your relay? See some hands going up. Is everybody delegation masters? Because that would be awesome. That makes your job so much easier. Well, okay, leading your ELT, just some tips, and there's another section in the guidebook that is just about being a leader and getting your ELT in order and moving towards relay goals. So it's always fun to create a positive dynamic with your team members. You can do some things to get to know each other, build those relationships, keep everybody really tied not only to the cause, but to the ELT. That keeps them coming back year after year. And then delegation is your friend. Do not try to do everything yourself. The guidebook has some great tips on delegating tasks and things to think about before you delegate them out to people. And then, of course, after we have these volunteers in place and they're working and doing everything that they're responsible for, keeping them motivated and supporting them, as well as recognizing and thanking them. So one of the biggest parts of leading your ELT too, meetings, which I know is probably a big change for a lot of people when they first come to remote support, is all of a sudden their staff partner is not there to help them during a meeting. But the guidebook has simple agendas in it that we've pulled together from a lot of different events. Some of them are just shells that you can go through. Some of them are like specific for here's an agenda on how to plan your day of event activity schedule. So be sure to check those out. But it seems like the biggest question I get from event chairs, at least, is how can we help hold our committee members accountable to the tasks that they say they are going to do? So I would love to hear from everybody about what you do as an event chair to help make sure that things are getting done, not by you. Ashley, I see your hand first. Can you get off mute?
Yes, I can. So
Perfect.
This year, again, because of, I don't want to say my failure last year, but because I couldn't do anything, and Kristen taking back over, what she actually did this year was she separated every committee. Again, it works with our schedules and whatnot to do like a once a month meeting. So like I'm on field entertainment and also survivor caregiver, but those are going to be on 2 separate nights. So we have like a whole list. Kristen is also a planner and like knows every step of the process. Again, she's done this for many years. So it's kind of nice having that outline of saying, okay, this is what we need. And then if we're going to have a survivor dinner, then here's everything that we need. So it's like getting raffle tickets, it's getting this, getting that. So we have that list to know, which is kind of like really good to be like, okay, this is what I need to do now, and this is what I need to do next. So having the separate meetings and having like our list, so to speak, has really helped us and really helps me like focus on like what I need to do.
Awesome. I'm a list person, so I fully support list making and setting expectations. What's everybody else use?
Okay. I believe if from the very first meeting, if you have the conversation and set your expectations, what is expected of each person, let them know, because at some point when that person doesn't do whatever it is they say they're going to do, you need to speak to them, and you don't want any hurt feelings like, this is what I asked of you. And also, I found over the years that there are a lot of people who like to be on ELT, but they don't bring in a sponsor, they don't sign up a team, they don't raise any money, and sometimes they're more of a hindrance than they are a help. So I think having that meeting up front, this is the expectation. Can you meet that expectation, and then have them sign a contract?
Does anybody use partnership agreements, volunteer to volunteer partnership agreements?
Perfect.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to the guidebook again. One of the things that we have in here for you all to use, if you would like, are partnership agreements. And we actually have two kinds. So we have a staff to volunteer that you can do with your staff partner, and then a volunteer to volunteer. And it's just a Word document that goes through some questions to help set expectations, and also make some plans to help make sure volunteers are comfortable, your ELT members are comfortable with what they're actually responsible for and what the expectation is. So I have a lot of my student groups that actually use these to, between the leadership and each individual who's helping on something, to make sure that everybody's on the same page, and everybody knows what's going on. So it's always good when everybody has the same expectations and knows what's going on.
Yes.
Anything else that people use? I know we're running out of time. Okay. The last thing I was going to cover tonight was budgets and expenses. And if we run a little over 8 p.m. Central, since that's my time zone, and you need to hop off, please don't feel obligated to stay. But if people have questions about budgets and expenses, I will be happy to stay on and answer them. But best practice, keep your expense ratio for your event at roughly 3 to 5% of what you raised the previous year. Here's the caveat on that. All of us are coming off of some pretty rough pandemic fundraising seasons, and that 3 to 5% may not look like much. So our suggestions from ACS, anytime we can get stuff donated, fabulous. Anytime we can get stuff discounted, that works too. And always call around and see what kind of deal you can get, or the lowest quote. But we also know there are just some things that we are going to have to pay for. So always, always, always your staff partner is available, no matter who they are, to have a conversation with you about your expenses. Here's been my example that I've been using. We're going back to in-person events in a lot of places. Yay! We need things like a venue, a DJ, sound system, staging potentially. Those are things we know that you absolutely need to make your event the best experience possible for your participants. If we absolutely have to pay for those things, talk to your staff partner and we can figure it out. The 3 to 5% is kind of our rule of thumb. It's where a lot of our events fall anyway, as we've tracked over the years. So it's not as scary as it sounds. I know 3 to 5% doesn't sound like a lot, but does anybody have questions on budgets or expenses, or ideas to share on how they kind of help keep their expenses low?
Ask, and ask. I'm sorry, it's my motto. It's embedded in me.
I worked in Chicago for a couple years when I was still in the field, and I had some volunteers there, like right in the West Cook County area, that anytime we were talking about stuff, ultimately somebody at the table would go, I got a guy who could find whatever we needed, either really discounted or donated. So yes. All we had to do was ask.
Yes. Sometimes, like, for example, one of our issues we had this year, we didn't really have a stage, and we're used to a stage. It is
Yeah.
Vegas, so why not have a stage with a wonderful backdrop? I personally asked a few solar companies to try to make a stage, but the thought is you ask, you just keep asking, and if it doesn't happen, at least you can secure someone for the next year. And when you ask, you may be asking for right now, and remember to be grateful, but ask them, about next year, so you don't have to stress again the next year. And those are little points that I think of when I'm asking.
That's an excellent idea. Going one step ahead. Anyone else? Budgets, expenses?
I just want to say this about a stage because she brought that up. I never heard of a rollback truck. And then one year I didn't have a stage. And then one of my volunteers said, well, I can get you a rollback truck. And I'm like, what the heck's a rollback truck? And ever since then, we've been using rollback trucks as our stage. It's like a big part of a semi truck that they bring in there, and then that turns into your stage. And I mean, you can just come up with some random things to work for your stage, because we were paying a couple $100 for a stage to come from the Civic Center, and it's like, yeah, that works great.
And speaking of that, two things. I think I know those rollback trucks. They use those at NASCAR for the vendors. And so I'll be thinking about you when I do the ask this year. And also, something I attempted to do here wasn't too successful. But in New York, what we did, I'm not from New York City, I'm from the county. But what we would do is speak with the city and the county recreation department and ask them for their stages. Sometimes if you ask ahead of time, you're bringing them in as a sponsor for that stage, and you may get more than you're asking. You may get lighting, you may get, audio, video, you never know. So you may want to ask that way too, to cut your expenses down.
Yes, any groups that you're already working with. I've even had companies that sponsored Relay let us borrow the tables and chairs from their building, so we didn't have to rent them from someplace, and they brought them out to the park for us, which was fabulous.
That's always
So sometimes getting creative is your best way to go too.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, please, we're at 8:02 my time, so please go check out the Event Chair Guidebook. Let us know Actually, let your staff partners know if you see any big gaping holes that you would like us to add to the Event Chair Guidebook. Like I said, it's a fluid document. We can update it anytime, anywhere. So thank you all for coming tonight. Don't forget to join us tomorrow night at 6:30 Central for a mix and mingle with the fun crew, and that's going to be an entire 30 minutes. And then we'll be talking sponsorship at 7 and reinventing Relay as we come out of the pandemic at 7:30. Thank you, everybody, for hopping on tonight. Have a good rest of your evening.
Thanks. Thank you.
Great.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you.
Have a good night.